Welcome to the CGA News. Today, we are hosting a very special guest that will explain to us the implications and effects of the colonization of the Dominican Republic. Her name is Charlotte Nicolin. She's a reputed historian well known for her recent explorations and discoveries. And without further ado, she'll explain why and how the colonization of the Dominican Republic started. It all started on the 3rd of August, 1492, in Spain, more specifically in Palos. During the Middle Ages, Christopher Columbus was an Italian explorer who asked the Spanish king Ferdinand II and Queen Isabella I the permission to find a route which will lead him to China, for an easy access to silk and spices as well as the wealthy cities of the East, without having to pay much taxes. As soon as they accepted, Christopher Columbus set sail with an estimated total of 89 men. It was a hard and tiring journey, but they eventually arrived on the 25th of December, 1492, and settled on the island of Hispaniola, which is in the modern day called the Dominican Republic. Historians believe they landed in a city known today as Puerto Plata. Their voyage can be summarized by this black line. As I mentioned earlier, they started from Palos and ended up in Puerto Plata. This painting illustrates Christopher Columbus's arrival. We can see the conquistadors raising their weapons and Spanish flags towards the sky. Much to Christopher Columbus's surprise, he found there were indigenous people living there, and they were called the Tainos. This painting depicts how the Tainos look like, and we can see that the natives did not wear much. In addition, the indigenous people had brown skin, whereas the Europeans at this period of time had mostly white skin. And we also know that among the natives were many different tribes. Furthermore, according to Christopher Columbus's accounts, we know that the Tainos were very generous, as he states, "Of anything they have, if it be asked for, they never say no, but do rather invite the person to accept it and show as much lovingness as though they would give their heart." He also states in his journal that these people have already a religion and a god, and historians believe that the indigenous people worship Zeus, the god of spirit. In addition, we know they spoke in a language that he described as unsound, and historians think they used to speak Arawak. With research, they found out that there were about 40 different versions of Arawak, which corresponds to approximately the number of tribes there were in Hispaniola. Lastly, historians believe they were nomadic fishers and hunters because of the spears they found to have belonged to the Tainos. It is now time for my 3 questions. My first question is the following. What were the implications and effects on the conquistadors and the indigenous people when they arrived in the Dominican Republic? Christopher Columbus's colony had a huge impact in Spain, as he made the indigenous people, the Tainos, work in mines which allowed him to get large quantities of gold and silver, which he then sent back to Spain. This, therefore, tremendously increased the wealth of Spain. In addition, his voyage opened the trade route between Seville and Puerto Plata, on which they exchanged many goods which benefited both North America and Europe. For example, North America provided many different kinds of fruit that became popular throughout the world, including potatoes, tomatoes, chocolate, hot peppers, while Europe provided America with cattle, horses, rice, wheat. This agricultural exchange revolutionized the economies and styles of cooking of both continents. Unfortunately, this trade route also brought many deadly diseases, killing a vast number of people in the Dominican Republic. It was estimated by the historians that there were 1 to 3 million Tainos living in the Dominican Republic when Christopher Columbus arrived, and 100 years later, there were 200 Tainos left. This was mostly due to diseases, overwork, and poor treatment. Now, let's look at a primary source Christopher Columbus wrote during his voyage. We can see that he thinks his voyage has been successful, as he wrote, "To speak in conclusion of only what has been done during this horrid voyage, their highness will see that I can give them as much gold as they desire, if they will give me a little assistance, spices, cotton, as much as their highness may command." So basically what he means is that he can obtain very easily gold, silver, cotton, and spices with a little assistance. Thus, for him, this voyage was a success. This question is relevant to the COI as we learn how the colonization impacted the colonizer and the colonized people through expanding and reducing boundaries. This, therefore, explains the economy, style of cooking, religion, and even agriculture of the two countries. In short, it helps us understand better their lives and it explains their decisions today. My second question is the following. Did conflicts occur when Christopher Columbus reduced the Dominican Republic's boundaries? This is an account written by Christopher Columbus himself, and throughout this account, he describes how conflicts did not occur while he reduced the Dominican Republic's boundaries, as the indigenous people did not even acknowledge what arms were. Thus, for him, the natives were not a big threat. Nonetheless, thanks to his accounts, we know he was ready in case of a revolt, as he had already built fortifications. This question is relevant to the COI as our statement of inquiry states that conflicts may occur when boundaries are expanded or reduced. Hence, the question is pertinent to the topic as it shows how two nations interact when a country reduces the other nation's boundaries. In addition, this question allows us to have a better understanding of how he managed to expand the boundaries of Spain without having the natives revolting. My last question is, what were the indigenous peoples and conquerors' perspective when Christopher Columbus settled in Hispaniola? On one hand, there are the Taínos, who did not appreciate this colonization, as they were taken advantage of because they were very generous, which eventually led them to be forced to work in mines and labor, which destroyed their habitat. And if they disobeyed, they were killed. On the other hand, there are the Spanish, who greatly appreciated and benefited from this colonization, as it made them richer and more knowledgeable, as they proved the world is round to Europe. During Christopher Columbus's voyage, he wrote a journal, and in this journal, he states, "Your Highness, the Spanish people can settle here. There are very lofty and beautiful mountains, great farms, groves, and fields, most fertile both for cultivation and for pasturage, and well adapted for constructing buildings." So basically, what he means by that is that he's very pleased with his voyage as he found nice lands for agriculture and constructing buildings. This question is crucial, as through the lens of both parties' perspective, we have a better understanding of their thoughts and their feelings. In addition, it is important because with only the different parties' feedback, we can have a clearer picture of what was really happening at this period of time. It relates to our COI as it illustrates how a country can change its point of view and wealthiness while expanding or reducing its boundaries. To finish off, I would like to tell you once again that Christopher Columbus's colonization had a huge impact on both Spain and the Dominican Republic, so big that there is now a day where we celebrate Christopher Columbus. And the following video will show you a little bit more about this.
President Roosevelt proclaimed October 12th as Columbus Day. In 1971, President Nixon declared Columbus Day a national holiday to be observed on the second Monday of October.
That was all for today. Thank you for watching and see you next week for a new episode of the CGN News.